Hello everybody, I'm Donna M. Ross from California, and I'm here to inform all of you about proof that this war is not necessary. The Iraq war, any war around the world isn't necessary. I was engaged to a very famous industrialist, cutting-edge, high-tech CEO whose name is Fred Kavli of the Kavli Foundation and the Kavli Prize. He recently passed away. He was also President George W. Bush's own technology advisor, and it was from him that I learned the official classified military name and the existence of a weapon that our country has been paying different computer companies for since 1992, billions of dollars a year. And my life is being destroyed by a high-tech weirdo. He's basically slowly murdering me with this weapon, and has since he saw me in 1999. He drove by me. A lot of people out there complaining about being attacked by something horrible and electronic. You know, why are people complaining about gang stalking, little pointy hats, little pointy foil hats on their heads? People around the world are complaining about being attacked by electronic weapons. There have been a lot of deaths. Well, because of the fact that I knew Fred, and I'm a very high achiever in business and also in the arts, you know, in the arts, the film, and I've owned art galleries, very high-end art galleries. I'm an artist. But my careers are being destroyed by this stalker. So I'm letting you know about this weapon. For the primary reason this video is to let everybody in the world know that the United States has this weapon, and it has since 1992. It's a billion-dollar weapon. And so we can all become, and also I'm going to tell you why wars happen. Because my other career, before it was destroyed by the stalker, is an investment-oriented business where I had famous CEOs and billionaires as my clients, and 800 clients, growing by 5 per week, 5 assistants, and I had 3 billionaires and 3 world-famous CEOs. So I have very high contacts in high-tech, in what they call the defense industry. I'm going to call them weapons dealers. Now that just so you know, you can see if you agree with me as you hear about this, but because of my contacts, they've explained to me why wars happen. And so that's what I'm going to do in this video, is tell you about this weapon, and everybody can share this around the world. And we're going to ask everybody, and I, with my little group of helpers, we've already contacted endless numbers of senators in the United States and what they call congresspersons in the House of Representatives, to alert them to the fact that this weapon exists and that it proves this war is not necessary. And they don't care at all, no matter what party they're in, even the ones you think are progressive and they claim to be anti. They're off the phone instantly. So they don't care. They're all on the take now. It's called campaign contributions. That's all they're in there for now, which I tell you about that in the other videos we'll be producing. So I have all the military and scientific proof of this weapon, and you can look at our other videos. But so I'll tell you about the weapon, give you its official classified military name, and give you enough information in this video about it that you'll be able to understand how real this is. And then the other videos in our website, we have the military and scientific proof and full, more in-depth technical explanation of the weapon and how it can do to humans what it is that it can do. but I also need to, and also as I tell you why wars happen, it's going to be so valuable for the world, for all the good people in the world to know. There's something really important that came out of this new technology that explains historically why wars have been made to happen. There's a certain fetish aspect to it that I'll be explaining to you. But the other reason I'm making this video is to alert all of you to the fact that I've been asking people on government payroll that are supposedly responsible for things like this. I've been begging them to do something to rescue me from this high-tech stalker who is slowly murdering me with this new weapon of the government, $1 billion weapon. And my businesses have been destroyed. And everything's been robbed from me, my homes and everything. And I would be earning literally $500,000 a month, giving most of it away to inner city schools and curing poverty around the world and the environment. But all the same, all of my homes, rentals, savings, IRAs, my credit's been destroyed, my car was demolished, my career, I cannot work under these attacks, and there are no government programs to rescue you if you are attacked and your business is destroyed by high-tech stalkers with weapons expertise. And it's a huge crime wave now. And nobody in government, the FBI, the police, and Jerry Brown, the governor in California, Dianne Feinstein, all these senators I'll tell you about at the end, have all said it's not their job to do something about the fact that I and many other citizens in the United States and around the world are their businesses destroyed, everything robbed of everything, and slowly murdered by high-tech workers with this weapon. So please, at the end, good people, clobber Jerry Brown and Dianne Feinstein, and any contributions for what I'm teaching about this weapon will be greatly appreciated, because everything's been stolen from me, and I nearly died along the way. It's a miracle I survived. It was so that I could go forward and warn the world about this weapon, and that also explains the huge crime wave going on. Celebrities are complaining about being murdered. Their friends are being murdered. It's a huge crime wave, and I have, because of knowing Fred Kavli, I'm the one that has the official classified. I can explain it to you. I'm the one that can explain it because of my contact with Fred. So in 2007, I was attacked in my own home by basically an invisible laser beam, and it began to torture me physically, and it nearly murdered me. For 2 weeks it tortured me. I couldn't even leave my little house. And I went to Fred. When I was finally able to, I went to Fred, and he was George W. Bush's technology advisor then. President George W. Bush was in office then, and I went to Fred and told him what I was experiencing. And it's really bizarre what has been invented, everybody. It can do things that are just going to shock you. And Fred listened for 45 seconds, and then he leaned forward and he interrupted me, and he said, "You're being attacked by an extremely advanced new high-tech weapon that our government, United States government, has been buying for military purposes, that is very expensive. What you're being attacked by is $1 billion a year, and its official classified military name is robotics. 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 And he told me a few more things about it, and he told me that my chances of ever getting free of this particular stalker during my lifetime are not good. And for those of you, most of you do not know Fred, that was basically all that he really told me about it. And then he was busy going off doing his thing around the world, putting his, working on, what he was working on with his own projects. And so I was I'm not going to go, this video is strictly to alert everybody who cares, and all of the people in the military, all the good people, is to alert you to the fact that we're being hoodwinked by people on government payroll into thinking that there really is a terrorism threat. And I'm not going to spend time in this video, and also that you're going to be so shocked to hear about this weapon. I'm going to just give it to you. You're going to be shocked. And then everybody in the world, please help inform the American public that this weapon is in our country's arsenal, and it is unbeatable. It is the most powerful weapon ever invented in the history of mankind, most dangerous weapon. And our country has the largest version of it. When you hear about this weapon, what it can do to humans, you'll realize, as I did, that it's so shocking that our country has been involved with any wars at all, and that there are any wars in the world at all, because of what this weapon can do to humans all over the world to prevent wars. You cannot believe what this weapon can do to humans. So please help me to inform the public here, because there are a lot of good people in the United States that don't realize how scammy people in these Senate and Congresspersons' offices are. Until you've been in and out of all these offices, as we have, trying to find protection for me and rescue from this ordeal that I'm being slowly murdered by this high-tech stalker with the government's own billion-dollar weapon. And until you've been in and out of all these government offices of people that have the titles of congresspeople, senators, no matter what party they're in, they're all the same, everybody. And I tell you about my background in the other videos. I have a really huge background. I'm from a kind of a major political family. I tell you about that in the other videos, but I don't want to make this video too long. And again, our website is helpsavebeverlyhillsprincess.com. I'm not a princess, but my life, like most women's, I've worked very hard to have a beautiful life, and I'm being trashed by high-tech stalkers, male freaks in technology that have destroyed my life with this new weapon. And the government people have added to the insult and the injury by telling me it's not their job to do something about this theft of everything I own, my homes, my rentals, to rescue me from this new type of crime and everybody else. And they've actually expected me to go live in a homeless shelter. And I've earned my own home. So that's the point about the princess. Is just furious with these people that they expect me to live in the gutter while I'm being slowly murdered by the by the country's own billion-dollar weapon, and the stalkers destroyed my businesses. And so anyway, getting on with the weapon. So and if I go off track a little bit, it's because of the nature of what the weapon can do to you. So when the day after Fred told me what it is that I'm being basically tortured to death with, I went to the FBI with a very high-level scientist as a witness, and they told me that they weren't going to do anything. And I couldn't believe it. But it's I won't tell you my story here. I already knew the police wouldn't do anything, which is it. I tell you my story in the other videos. So and the stalker communicated to me that my careers were over, and that he was going to use the weapon to destroy my face and to turn me into the world's ugliest woman. And when you hear about this weapon, you're going to understand all these things that I'm telling you. Robotics. We're in a new era. I had to start to research the weapon, and all my money was stolen. My car was destroyed by the stalker. And there I am being slowly murdered and starting to starve to death. And because the FBI said it wasn't something that it wasn't technically their job to have to do something about this. That technically it's not their job to have to do something about this. That the nation's laws have to change first before it's their job to have to do something about the fact that the government's own new high-tech weapon is being used to destroy the businesses and murder law-abiding citizens in the United States. So they went on with going out to lunch and collecting their paychecks and left me to be murdered. And I had to research the weapon as I was trying to find somebody who could protect me from the stalker. And it was a horrible ordeal. I nearly died, starving to death. I had to live in a place that was free. I mean, it's terrible, everybody. This is a new era, but this is what the weapon is. It took me 115 hours per week. That's all I did, frantically researching, trying to learn about the weapon so that I could possibly find somebody who could protect me from this stalker. Okay, this is what I learned. Robotics. What is robotics, everybody? Supercomputer nanotechnology weapon. It was, supercomputers are what makes it possible. And what it is, as Fred had explained to me, the supercomputers beam up to satellites. And let me back up a step. What is nanotechnology? Nanotechnology is the supercomputers that separate matter into its component parts. It breaks apart atoms, and it can, and when matter is pulled apart into, like when atoms are pulled apart by supercomputers, and the little parts are under the control of the supercomputer because of the massive amounts of computing power and what they call artificial intelligence in the supercomputer. When matter is pulled apart, atoms are pulled apart into little itsy bitsy little pieces under the control of supercomputer. Very bizarre behavior. It changes. It no longer looks the same. It doesn't behave the same, and that's very exciting to the people that invented this. So it can produce very unnatural effects when you're being by a supercomputer with nanotechnology. Very bizarre things can be done to you because of that reality, that when matter is pulled apart into its component parts, it's very different. Everything's so different. Very unnatural things can be made to happen. Unique combinations of, okay. So this supercomputer, the weapon called robotics, official classified military name called robotics, and it's in our nation's Star Wars military division. I had to find that out myself. While being murdered and starving to death. And my children growing up without me. I was kidnapped away from my children, and the oldest was in 2nd grade, and nobody in government cares. Jerry Brown, Dianne Feinstein. Okay. So the supercomputer beams up to satellites and then down again anywhere in the world, because our country has the largest version of this weapon. Other countries have it, and a lot of high-tech companies have it, but our country has the largest version, and then it's able to beam enemy soldiers, say on the other side of the world, and it can instantly kill them. It can pop their heart. It can rip the arms off of their body. It can tear the organs out from inside their body. It can do bizarre things like melt their eyes, or it can vaporize them. And it's with the force of a 50-ton Mack truck. It is so powerful, but it can do way more than that. The supercomputer is also able to rearrange the electrons in the soldier's brain where the control of his muscles are, the movements of his body, and it's able to cause him to turn around and shoot his own men. but it can do way more than that. It's able to scan their brain. And let me back up. It can also actually rearrange the electrons in the speech production region of its brain. I'll explain the technology in another video. I don't want to take too long in this video. It can literally turn you into a different person. How can it do that? It's explained in the other video about the technology, but I'll give you the brief story here. Our bodies, I had to learn, are electrical and chemical. They're not only chemical, but they're also electrical. And as famous scientists have said, the body's electrical system is easily disturbed. And our brain has different, is our computer, right? So this is what this weapon is able to do, is to rearrange the electrons in the different functional regions of humans' brains and cause them to be under the complete control of the supercomputer. It's able to beam the enemy soldiers and actually into the speech region of their brain and cause them to begin to shout insults at people and to create a fight. It's able to rearrange electrons in the visual region of their brain, in the hearing, in the taste, the touch, the smell region of the brain, which I explain and I show you the map of the brain in the other video about technology that you'll find on our YouTube channel and on our website. It can rearrange the electrons in the emotional region of the brain and cause him to begin to furiously attack somebody. It's called robotics. And I found through my research into it, and my some other people were helping me at times with the research, various scientists. My father was helping until he passed away. And what we found, and we have files 6 feet thick now filled with all the military and scientific proof of this weapon that we're uploading to the website. And military men in their retirement are coming forward. They're feeling safe in their retirement to come forward with proof of the existence of this weapon. Because what it can also do, everybody, is it can read your thoughts and it can actually alter your thoughts. Because nanotechnology has found, the supercomputers, they were able to find that thought is actually, it actually is a stream of electrons, and they can be altered. That's the short story. And we found, I don't want to give you all the proof here. I don't want to take this too long. I don't want this video to take too long. But it's just like an introductory video. If you want more information, you can look at the videos that we're producing and send us your questions if you want. But everybody's body is different. We're like snowflakes. Everybody's body and brain is different. We're all like snowflakes, is what we found through our research, talking to different famous scientists about this. And I did drive to meet the president of Caltech and discuss this topic with him. The things I learned. It was so hard to learn about this weapon. There's no one in government to go to for information about it. Even if you're being murdered by it, there's no one in technology to go to for information about it, because the high-tech industry is so secretive and private. And so it was so hard to find out about this weapon, to be able to explain it to you. It took me 5 years of starving to death. I haven't had a single birthday off, a Christmas. I've been out to dinner. I have starved to death, and I am a princess in that regard. I have a very nice life that I worked very hard to create for myself. And here I am, starving to death and destitute, living with scorpions and rattlesnakes in horrible places because people on government payroll aren't doing their jobs. As crime goes high tech, they didn't come to my rescue. My story is told in another video, and please make sure I'm rescued, because I am going to die. I will die probably within a year, simply from starving to death, and because I cannot work under these attacks of this billion-dollar weapon. Anyway, because each of our bodies are different, we're all snowflakes, that is reducible to math, which means that the computer weapon can find your body out of everybody else's, and it can lock onto you. And it can lock onto a lot of people all at once. So it is able to scan people's thoughts and their and you can, for proof, if anyone's wondering about this, you can find that we found that that Lesley Stahl from 60 Minutes has covered that. She reported that in 2008 she actually interviewed the college professors that admit to having the thought reading software, but she doesn't know that private industry is way advanced, and they have been for quite some time. Different companies in there have it. But she did report that India, in the year 2006, had convicted a woman after reading her thoughts in her memory banks, her brain, with software. They actually had convicted her after reading her thoughts in her memory banks with software, and upon doing so, finding that indeed she had been involved with poisoning her fiancé 2 years earlier. So that's what Lesley Stahl of 60 Minutes reported in the year 2008, is that India has this software where they can read your thoughts in your memory banks, read your brain. And also the History Channel, just to help keep you up to speed with where technology is, so you really realize this weapon really exists. The History Channel also has a 4 or 5 part series coverage of what they call mind control, which is, I think that's kind of not the right title, but it's kind of it's more thought alteration of your thought process, reading your thought process and altering the functioning of your brain. Really, it's more of an anatomical versus anything else. It's more about the anatomy of your body and your brain. So History Channel has a 4 or 5 part series coverage of this titled "Formerly Thought to Be Impossible: Mind Control." Now, if you're like me, you didn't realize that our brain has all these functional regions up there. That this is where our brain controls how our hands move, our eyes, our tongue. We don't know that our personality is in this front region of the brain. Our behavior control, our speech production, to say nothing of, problem solving. We don't know that perception is in the back of our brain, that thought and consciousness is up here at the top of what they call the frontal lobe. We don't know that our brain has very specific regions that perform different functions of our body. And this is what this weapon is able to do, is to beam through caves, through any material. And it can, without you even feeling it, it can be reading your thoughts in your memory banks. It doesn't have to hurt you. It's up to the person who's operating the weapon. And for what it's worth, it's fully automated, and you don't have to be good with computers to use it. That's why there's some really bizarre, immature crimes being committed with it around the world by people in technology that are using it to attack law-abiding citizens. But we're going to stick with the war here, and how this is a travesty. It's a shocking scandal that we have any wars going on in the world, and that this country, the United States, is being fooled into thinking that there is a terrorism threat. There has never been a terrorism threat. You're going to find out, everybody. This is a shock, and it shocked me. My heart has been broken so many times as I worked on this project, when I went in and out of all these senator offices that do not care that I am being murdered. They do not care that women and children are in our country, the United States, are being kidnapped out of their homes and murdered through the roof of their homes by yet other tech industry workers that have access to this weapon through their work. Nobody on these government payroll positions cares at all about any of this, and it's broken my heart. But once you go in and out enough of these offices and you find out how immature these people are, you then grow up and you realize there's no dad in there. There's no dad in these in government. We're just a high school class running this country, and we have classmates in these jobs who are lying to us, and they're doing terrible things, and they're cheating us, and they're not even at work, a lot of them. That's another story that I'll be telling in the other videos. What we found when we went in and out of all these offices, it's so immature in there, everybody. So there's no dad. But this is the shocking part. What else can this weapon do? It's able to beam, and if I go off track sometimes, it's just part of the nature of the sabotage of myself, because this weapon can not only beam people, humans, and alter their behavior and their speech. It can make the enemy soldiers begin to shout in Russian at their own men, even though they've never even heard a single word of Russian. I know it sounds impossible, but we're in a new era with the invention of this weapon. It's just as astonishing to hear about it, that it's been invented, as it must have been for people to find out that an airplane had been invented, that people could actually fly. That's how stunning this weapon is. We're in a new era with the invention of this weapon. It can do way more than I've told you. It can also beam the enemy soldiers and alter their visual region of their brain, the smell region of their brain, the hearing region of their brain, the taste, touch, feel region of their brain, and cause them to experience a completely different reality than what they're really in. It can make them think that they're in a beautiful meadow, and smelling it and seeing it and seeing the birds flying, feeling the flutter of the wings on their cheek, while the computer is actually walking them off of a cliff. And as they're falling to their death, the computer operator, or the person that told the computer to go attack the enemy soldiers this way, can let them go ahead and just fall to their death, thinking that they're still walking through a meadow. Because the computer is able to, it's nicknamed the God weapon. I'm going to assume that a lot of you out there are listening because you're in a hurry, you're busy, and we need to get this out right away, and you're with us on this. For anybody who's skeptical, I can understand that, but we have all of the military and scientific proof of this now. And as you look on the internet to see everybody complaining about being attacked by something horrible and electronic, everybody is being attacked by high-tech workers who have access to this through their work or through their friends. So you'll see it's actually a huge, huge crime wave around the world. But you can look at the other videos in our website to see all the proof of this that we found. It took 5 years of 115 hours per week, and by then I was basically dead. I was starving to death. I had to live in a place that it was like living in the World Trade Center, where I was so severely poisoned that I ended up in a wheelchair, and then I've been in intensive care for a year and a half. And it's only now that I'm better that I can come forward to share all this information with all of you. I feel like I just went off track a little bit, but that's just the nature of the sabotage. As I told you, I've been a TV anchor person, and I'm an honor student all of my life. My resume is on the website. I'm a national leader in my professions. I have been since I was 19. I graduated with a double major from college, one of the top colleges in the world for engineering, architecture, and agriculture. And I was an honors graduate from that. I graduated with business and also a field of science and technology that's related to agriculture. And I was voted, I was national finance chairperson for all the colleges in the country. I had my high-tech major, my science and technology major. It's a male-dominated, heavy industry. You know, and then they voted me to be their president, including all the colleges in Canada. It'd be like Cornell, University of Michigan, University of Alaska, University of Hawaii, UC Davis, on and on and on and on. All those, mostly males, voted me to be their president, including the colleges in Canada. Just a tiny part of my background, my accomplishments. So, so it's just to give you a little bit so you can understand when I'm telling you that we have the military and scientific proof of all this, that you really get it, that this is real, what I'm telling you. And I will warn you that there's a little bit of a Pandora's box aspect to this weapon, but that I'll explain later. And you can send us your questions as you have any questions. But we need to stop this murder of people, this machine that's killing people, the wars. Okay, this is what else it can do. The robotics, the weapon, is also able to beam the enemy soldiers, and it can peel the living skin off of their. Oh, I feel like I didn't finish. When the soldier is falling to his death, off the cliff, the computer operator can have the computer either let him fall to his death thinking that he's still in a meadow, or it can, because it's rearranging the electrons with godlike precision in the chemicals in his brain, so that he's actually has the sensation of still being in a meadow. And it can alter so many things. And or the computer can release the virtual reality that it beamed into him of a meadow and let him see that he's actually falling to his death off the cliff, and that he's like seconds away from being dead. And the computer can also beam, rearrange the electrons in the hearing region of his brain, so that and the computer can actually beam him in a way that it can taunt him and ridicule him. Words he can be made to hear, to have a reality, a virtual reality message beamed into him. And some of you, these are some of the different regions of the brain. This is the hearing region of the brain here. This is the front of the brain, the back of the brain. But these are the different regions. This is where your visual, the visual is here, visual region, your perception is right here. But this is the taste, touch, smell, pain, pressure, hearing region. And then up here in the front is where your behavior, personality, behavior control, personality, speech production. This is called the frontal lobe. And this is where your brain controls how your body, when you decide you want to move, this is the part of your brain that the electrons fire. So this is what the computer can do, is rearrange the electrons in the hearing region of the soldier's brain, so that in a way that he can actually be hearing taunting and ridicule as he's falling to his death. The weapon is nicknamed the God weapon, and it's also nicknamed the voice to skull weapon. And the other name for it is a virtual relationship. That was the history of it, and I'll tell you that in other videos. But already you're starting to get an idea. And I'm so sorry, everybody, to have to share this information with you. Really shocking, but it's so important that we stop this revolting and disgusting situation going on, where there is no need for a war, and we're being lied to by these are really bad people in these offices. When you go in and out of all these offices and the way they're behaving, I explain it in another video. I mean, it's so shocking how we're being lied to. and just the type of people they are, no matter what party they are. It's just amazing how bad they are. But the computer can also peel the living skin off of your body, and the doctors can't do anything about it. It can, so this is where it gets bizarre. I mean, it already is bizarre enough, isn't it? But it can target each person, each of the soldiers differently in different ways, because the high-tech industry since the early 1970s has had computer-generated personality programs. They actually generate artificial computer-generated personalities, and they were using it for mostly training purposes. It's what one of the high-tech CEOs who is selling this to our government told us. And it's completely indistinguishable from a real personality. And but this weapon, robotics, is able to generate a lot of different computer-generated personalities that can be latched onto. Each personality could be latched on to, say, the enemy soldiers, so that each soldier is suddenly made to say and do things and behave in a completely different way than the other targets. I don't, right now in this video, I'm not going to tell you how many people, how many humans I've heard our government's supercomputer can target all at once. It's a very, very large number. And this, and the one person stalking me with the weapon, but it's a large, very large number, enormous. The reports in Veterans Today, apparently, are the magazine, from our soldiers, United States American soldiers, that they had noticed a couple of years ago that there were 1,200 Iraqi soldiers walking across the field towards them. And in unison, that means, you know, all together, all at once, for no reason at all, without a single word being spoken, nothing, all 1,200 soldiers, Iraqi soldiers, stopped, took their weapon, leaned over, all at once, in unison, leaned over and put their weapon down on the ground. And apparently our soldiers were saying, what is that all about? Well, it's because our really horrible people in these government offices haven't told us about this weapon, nor have the high-tech companies that have it and that are selling it to the government for billions of dollars a year. So now you know, everybody, and I can explain to you at the end of this video why wars happen for those of you, so we can spread this around the world. We won't be naive anymore, and we can move civilization forward. Okay, this is what else the weapon can do. This is where it gets really bizarre, and why you'll realize we never had a terrorism problem, because this weapon can do all this to humans, multiple humans, all at once in completely different ways, but it's a piece of cake for it to blow up buildings and make it look like a planned demolition. Okay, so this is the important thing to know. You're already starting to get the picture of where I'm going with this, aren't you? And as you spread the word around and this expose becomes publicized, please keep my name and profile very, very low, because the person targeting me with this weapon likes to use it to destroy my life and to humiliate me and bring embarrassment to me, all that sort of thing. So please keep my name out of it, but spread it around the world and hammer everybody into stopping this war. And we have a suggestion for how to do that without causing financial harm to our military people who need jobs, and also people in the defense industries, quote unquote defense industries. You know, we have to do this in a way where you're financially safe, and we do have a suggestion for that. So let's all work together on making sure that you're transitioned into some really good jobs, equally good or better even. Okay, so this is what else the weapon can do. It can the computer is huge, and it can be planning how to like make your skin suddenly erupt with a disease when you don't have it. I mean, just like that, it can fill your body with alcohol, even though you've never had a drink of alcohol in your life, because it's planning before it does it to you, and how it's going to do this. But it's able to take matter in your body and rearrange it into something different. So it can suddenly, just like that, fill your body with alcohol. And there you are driving down the street, and you're suddenly you're crashing because your body's so filled with alcohol. Or it can do that with drugs, fill your body with drugs, even though you've never even been around drugs in your life. It can also alter your anything is alterable. Anything is alterable. It can make your fingers start to just vaporize. It can just vaporize you. It can make it look as though you've been in a gas attack, as though you've been like this Syrian situation. It could be fabricated. It's able to target a lot of people all at once in different ways, and to cause them to think and behave differently. It can make them behave against their most fervently, their value system. It's able to target people and be locked onto people for years without you even knowing it. The computer could be scanning your brain and your value system and your memory banks, and just like logging it away, and it knows everything that's important to you. And then, depending on the person targeting you or the enemy soldiers with it, they can say, okay, today's the day. Now go make these people go shoot everybody. So it's the complete control of the human. It's the override of the human operating system by supercomputers, nanotechnology. And Fred Kavli told me what it is, because it's so bizarre if you're ever beamed by somebody with this. And a lot of people are complaining about being beamed by something bizarre and horrible. It can what it can do to you, it can make it so that you smell and see and experience a fire in your house, and it can make your skin start to be destroyed as if you really are in a fire, and you cannot tell the difference between. It's so perfected. That's why it's nicknamed the God weapon. Ray Kurzweil, the famous computer scientist, and he does some consulting. He earns money by helping solve, in this arena for the government. He had given a speech before the Army Sciences Conference Board in the year 2004 that we found a copy of, and then later, after we contacted him, it disappeared off of his Wikipedia page. Wikipedia, the little online dictionary. We contacted him, and within a few days, this particular speech and another one disappeared off of his Wikipedia page. Apparently he doesn't want to be involved with helping to stop this crime wave. So, but his speech to the Army Sciences Conference Board in 2004 was titled, "Virtual Relationships, Now a Perfected and Extremely Viable Weapon of War." Virtual relationship is the same technology, and that was the history of the development of this weapon. It's exact same technology. It's just that's he's not supposed to. All these people are playing along with this scam that we really have a threat, and we don't, because everybody's making money. And there are a lot of really lazy people in our country, we found out by working on this. So, but that you can look at. If you can help us find a copy of that speech again, it was on the internet. We should be able to find another copy, right? But he also gave a speech on the stage at Stanford University in the year 2008. He was on stage for an hour and a half with a female PhD. This is the 2008 Singularity Conference at Stanford University in California. And he explained for an hour and a half how completely identical this is to real reality when you're beamed. And so I've kind of focused on and he's also given a speech other places. This is getting into some of the proof. What else can this do? I want to keep this short, this particular video. I'm trying to keep it short. Okay, it can also, so now you know, it can beam a lot of people and cause them to behave and say and actually do things that are so against their value system. And that's part of the sick payoff for the person targeting people with this. These are sick people that are using this to make us think that there's a terrorism threat. The Navy Yard shooter told the police that he was being controlled by somebody with microwaves. The police, we alerted them to the fact that this weapon is in a huge crime wave in the United States. In 2010, we went to them with all of the scientific and military proof. And Fred Kavli, his resume, and mine alone should have done it. Mine is huge. And they said, well, we don't really feel like working on this. The California High-Tech Crimes Division and different California police, that's how they all are people. These people are on paychecks. They get paid even when they don't do their job. And because we have no way to communicate with each other, we don't know that they're not doing their jobs. So that Navy Yard shooter was blamed for the Navy Yard shooting, but he was a victim. And it's of the laziness and the grotesque irresponsibility and immaturity of these people on government payroll. Someone's out there targeting law-abiding young men in the United States and causing them to commit mass shootings. If you look at them, if you start to research the crimes, you'll realize, as you research the history of these young men, look at their reputation throughout their life as a young man growing up, in high school, in college, if they went to college, wherever. And you'll find in all these cases, these were wonderful young men. They were role models in college. The Navy Yard shooter, the people that he was a Buddhist. This is all about no harm to anything or anybody. Zen Buddhist, peace, peace. Peace, P-E-A-C-E. The people that were in his temple with him said, we can't believe he did that. We've never seen that side of him. You can blame the FBI, the police, and all these really horrible people that we have in these jobs. You can blame Jerry Brown, Dianne Feinstein, Senator Dianne Feinstein in California, Senator Barbara Boxer, Congresswoman Lois Capps, and then lots and lots of other people on these fancy government titles that we alerted. Starting in 2007, we've done nothing but alert these people to the fact that this weapon that the government is buying for $1 billion a year is being misused by high-tech workers to murder law-abiding citizens and to cause law-abiding people to become mass shooters of school children. And they're so bad in there. Until you've been in there, you have no idea how horrible they are, which I explain in another video. It's the only place in the country that you can go to find abusive, French penal colony era, incredibly abusive people. They are so abusive. Jerry Brown, Dianne Feinstein's staff, they are, and then so many they're so bad. They've got their head up there, you know what, and they're so un-American, and they're not doing their jobs. And it's every political party. Republican, Jay Rockefeller, he didn't care. Tester up in Montana, the Independents. I'm a centrist. I'm from a very Republican family background. My father was one of the heads of the Republican Party for the County of Los Angeles as I grew up, invited to every single presidential inauguration as I grew up. And my grandfather was the mayor of Oceanside, California, where Camp Pendleton is located, the Marine base. I became a centrist myself after I had served in the Republican Party in politics, and I just found myself as a centrist. But I'll tell you, people, for the progressives out there, we alerted every single party to this crime wave and to the fact that this weapon proves this war is not necessary. And the progressives and the independents, the socialists, Vermont, Bernie Sanders, they're exactly the same in every single one of these offices, and that's why our country is going downhill. So we don't have cameras on these people. We don't know how bad how bad they are. It is so bad in there. So the Navy Yard shooter told the police that he was being controlled by microwaves, and the Boston bombing victims, at least one of them had complained to his mother about hearing voices. And so everybody's saying, well, it's a mental problem. This weapon, our government has been buying from the high-tech industry since 1992. A lot of high-tech companies have it. I've learned through my research, no one came to my rescue. I had to do the work. I've done the job of the FBI, the police, and all these people on government payroll, and they've all gotten their paychecks and said it wasn't their job and left me to starve to death and to rot in the gutter, literally kidnapped away from my home and my children. And now I have to alert the nation to this weapon and to the crime wave. So I'm doing the job of all these people, and starving to death and living in the gutter, living in horrible places with scorpions and rattlesnakes and, creepy little 3-foot high places that are free. How can you live if you don't have an income? And this weapon is calibrated to prevent me from working. When you're reading documents, if you're beamed by somebody with this, they can either slowly murder you and torture you to death, as is happening to me, but they can also do things like rearrange the, when you're reading legal documents, they can make it so that the computer makes your brain see a different reading and writing. It can make when you're driving through traffic, it can make you see a green light when in reality it's red. It can make you verbally. It can cause you to insult people that you love. It can prevent you from accessing your own memory banks. It can do anything. It's called robotics. It's the complete control of the human operating system. Can you believe that? But there will be some good news that I can share with you out of this. This is, so the Boston bombing people, and it can be locked onto you and cause you to do things without you even being aware of it. It can block your consciousness. You can make it so that you're completely, you have no consciousness and nothing's registering in your own memory banks, while it has your body running around saying and doing things that are really bad for your life and that are against your value system, which is the turn on for the people that are using it. It's a new fetish. And so the Boston bombing people, our country has this weapon, everybody. There is no reason for any of this. There's no such thing as a terrorism threat. I'm so sorry. I've served in the Republican Party on the board of directors of Santa Barbara County Republican Women when I was 26. I've served on the board of directors of basically Beverly Hills Republican Women when I was 20, right in those years. I've served on the board of directors of the Chamber of Commerce for a really, really huge, incredible ski resort, one of the world's top ski resorts. So when I'm telling you, so here's what else it can do. it's able to, the computer is able to, I have to make notes to myself so I don't forget to tell you things. I have a perfect memory myself. People will say that's why I was such a high achiever before I was targeted. But this is part of the sabotage. This person is apparently jealous of me for my abilities. He's crazy and really stupid. Got a hold of it after work in a computer lab, and this is what's happened. People that are really crazy, like janitor's assistants, have gotten a hold of this after hours in some computer labs. And that's another story in itself. And so there's some people that are really immature and really like homeless, crazy, blankety holes that have gotten a hold of it, that are out there doing really bad things to everybody or to different people. Anyway, so that's what this person is like, and is apparently really jealous of my abilities, because the computer can read your memory banks and can see what you've done with your life and what's important to you and what you will never do and what your worst nightmares are, and then it can and the person that's stalking you with it, I have to tell you about that aspect of it, if he's crazy like this young freak is, can actually manifest that by preventing you from ever being able to do your careers. I love my careers. I would never give them up. But anyway, back to what the weapon can do with buildings. It's able to, it can obviously be beaming a lot of people around the world who would never even take any action against the United States. And if somebody has their own personal vendetta against a certain part of the world, who's in a government position, can have this whole thing orchestrated, and it's like a soap opera for them to watch and see what the computer comes up with, to find people that then are under the control of the computer and are made to actually, say, fly jets into skyscrapers. If you're targeted by this, everybody, it's with the force of a 50-ton Mack truck. It locks onto you. You can't even feel it unless they want you to feel it, the person targeting you. You're not even aware of it unless they want you to be aware of it. We found, I can start to give you all the proof and and all the technical explanations here, and then this video will be way too long. So just look for that in the technology video. I explain the proof. Explain the technology and the proof. But this video, I'm going to have to try to close it out really fast here. I didn't want it to go more than an hour. But as I start to explain it, I always start to, I am being sabotaged, but also it's, I start to feel like I want to answer the questions of those, whatever questions might be coming up in your mind as I'm explaining this weapon to you. So rather than answer any questions that you may be feeling right now, I'm just going to keep referring you to the other video that we already produced on our YouTube channel and in our website that explains the technology of this. And we will produce more videos. And this is our website. As you send us your questions, and there's no danger to anybody with this particular stalker. The weapon can lock on to a lot of people all at once in different ways. And the person targeting you could forget all about it and just go on with his life, like these crazy immature weirdos that are doing that to people. They're not even paying attention. And here, the only way for you to get free is if somebody else with a bigger version of the weapon, of the computer weapon, comes along to block you. Okay? So I'm kind of focusing on what it can do to buildings now. The computing power involved with making a building look like it was blown up. The planned demolition question about, was it building 7 at the 9/11? And a lot of the architects and engineers have wondered, have said this was a planned demolition, and then apparently there are people saying, scientists who have been saying that there's something very questionable about the residue, the demolition powder, etc. It's the computing power to cause a building to look like it's exploding. Professional demolition is reportedly way less. It's negligible compared to what's involved with being able to be altering all of the electrons as needed and to cause chemicals to be gushing around in our body while we're still alive. The computing power to control and alter humans is much greater than to make it's a piece of cake, in other words, to make. It's so easy for this weapon, robotics, to orchestrate everything that we're being told was 9/11 was a terrorist attack. It was a piece of cake for this weapon to do that. And for those of you that are saying, how could that be possible? Americans, it's time for us to grow up. Okay? I understand the heartbreak. And I went through that myself when nobody came to my rescue. And just 1 second, please. I'm going to. I've explained to you what it can do to humans and what it can do to buildings, and I've told you that the technology is explained in the other video, and we can explain more as you send in your questions. Another thing that I haven't told you about it is that it's able to also translate back to the person targeting you massive amounts of information about, or the soldiers, massive amounts of information about the humans that they're targeting, and it rearranges the electrons. It can rearrange. The operator or whoever has access to it. It can be linked. A lot of humans operating this weapon can all be linked together, but one person is in control of it. It can rearrange electrons in their visual region of their brain, their smell, taste, touch region of their brain, so that they can literally be made to see you or see the human target's faces up close. And it's completely up to the operator what kind of experience they want to have while they're in control of all these bodies. And say 9/11, I just have to be frank. It's a criminal act, what is going on. Please keep my profile low. And as you all spread the word about this, if I hadn't known Fred Kavli, I would not be able to share this information with you. But there is a little Pandora's box aspect to this weapon, everybody, the smart, mature people. But I do have some good news too for all of you that came out of this, because this is a scary weapon. I found through my research into it that it's been described as being the most dangerous weapon ever invented in the history of mankind. That we have a 50% chance of making it through this. But I'll just say right now that I nearly died a year ago when I had to live in a poisonous place when no one came to my rescue, a free place that was like an industrial incinerator. And I'm from a family of country clubs, and for myself, I worked so hard to earn what I earn. And but when people don't come to your rescue in government as crime advances, you're in bad shape. And but anyway, see, I'm always being blocked from accessing my own. My abilities are constantly being sabotaged by this particular immature stalker. I found through my research into it that we have 50%, I think I already told you that 50% chance of making it through this. But when I almost died, I was halfway into the next world, and it was phenomenal. And I'm a science and technology person. My friends would all tell you she's the last person to be talking like this. It is so incredible where we're going, everybody. I was halfway there, and it is so beyond beautiful, joy, and all of us go. I mean, we're completely, all of us, fingers, toes, everything, and your loved ones are coming out. It's like they're all there. I know that sounds, I might produce another video to explain to you what I experienced, because and why I think we can trust this, because of what I also have learned about nanotechnology, but I don't want to take time here, but just, I think that this is, in a way, it was a miracle that I made it, and that I'm here to share the good news with you too, that it is really, really, really incredible where we're going next, and that all of our loved ones are there, and that it's sort of like a joke. I mean, as you go, if you know anybody that's facing something fatal right now, or if you've lost any relatives to this war, I can just pretty much guarantee for you that it is phenomenal where we're going next. It's better than where we are, and that we go, all of us are, it's like all of us are, it's like you're not missing anything, and you're aware that your body's down there as you're going to this, as you're incredibly, all the people that you love are coming out to see you, and they're like, but it's a joke that your body's down here. It's a caterpillar experience. So it's almost like it's a joke on the bad people using this in a way that this is almost like our virtual reality where we are now, is how it feels. Because I can tell you that was just, it's just like right there where we're going next. It's almost like it's already there. And yes, there was a presence that was so incredible. You can't even speak. The love, and it's something about it, you just, okay. So that's the good news, as I tell you about this scary weapon. Okay. So I've told you about it, what it can do to humans, a lot of humans all at once. I've told you that it's a piece of cake for it to make a building look like it was a planned demolition, or that very mysterious ways that it blew up. It's able to recreate, to take matter in the building and make it be exactly like demolition powder, burnt demolition powder residues. It can, and only somebody with a more advanced version of the weapon is able to analyze it, to see that it's not really demolition powder. It's same thing with it can actually murder you as if a bullet went through your body. You can feel it exactly, because the computer has already planned this out, already has studied it, and has all the knowledge in it, so that it can actually make your body suddenly be shot with a bullet, or an enemy soldier when there was no bullet, and it can harm your flesh and create residues and damage that's exactly as if a bullet went right through your body. This is a new era that we're in with this nanotechnology supercomputer weapon. And the police and the FBI and the military people won't even know that it was created by a supercomputer, that there really wasn't a bullet that went through, say, through their body. Because the computer can recreate the experience in you exactly as if that happened. That's why it's nicknamed the God weapon. It's nicknamed the God weapon, and it's nicknamed the voice to skull weapon. The official classified military name is robotics, and it's the same exact thing as virtual relationships. That was actually the history of it. We're perverts that invented it, and that's why I'm being targeted. His computer's destroyed how I look. My friends would be shocked, before the computer started destroying my face in 2007. This has all been very painfully cut. All these holes and these lines. This is not me, my eyes. I look so different. It's recreating very painfully. It's cut everything. Because the person stalking me is a crazy homeless. He's crazy. This has all been cut. It wakes me up at nighttime and cuts my face and the skin very, very painfully. I think it could be put back if they can ever stop this person. I think the computer can actually probably put my face back, but people would tell you, my friends would tell you that as of 2007, my complexion and how well I'd taken care of my body was so flawless that it was like a Vogue cover model. Women in Beverly Hills, strangers would stop me on the street and just rave about how I looked, my complexion, and this has all been cut by the computer. All these holes. This is not me. My lips are gone, and this is what Governor Jerry Brown and Senator Dianne Feinstein left me to have all this done to me, because the computer, the stalker, knows that my work in the film industry was such that, your face is your career, your body is your career, and I was setting up a fashion design division to my business. So I've always taken really good care of myself. And the computer knows how important that is to me, and the person I was married to for a long, long time, in my social life, and that's just who I am. I'm really, really interested in the art world and fashion. As I said, I set up a fashion design division to my business. They would tell you I'm the next Coco Chanel, that I'm very talented, exceptionally talented, but the computer knows how important these things are to me, and so it's actually cutting, doing this to recreate. It's actually recreating the skin, and it does it in a way it's very, very painful. It can do it in a way where it could be without pain, but this particular stalker is turned on by being able to inflict pain, and he can actually be made to experience how much pain he's inflicting on the body of the target. Is what's been explained to me. The computer, it's anything they want, they can do with this weapon. So aren't you shocked by it? Let's see. Okay, so now I've told you about the weapon. You can listen to the technology explanation, the other video we've produced, the explanation of the technology. We have to get the word out. Now, why does, I hope I haven't left anything out. The computer has this program to alter my personality. It can be your body, their life. That's what it is. And you're going to want to know the good news. I already told you about one, but there are other good things coming out of this that I'll be telling you about. Some really, really, really great things. Okay, make sure I haven't forgotten anything. Oh, I read that in 1997, well, actually, it's also called molecular electronics. The basic technology is molecular electronics, which is the software control of living molecules. The software control of living molecules. It does have positive uses, but I won't go into that in this particular video. Okay, so why do we have war? Very quickly, this is what, as I told you, in my business that's been destroyed by not just this stalker. I had somebody else use this on me in, from 1985 to 1999, somebody else used this on me, and I guess I was sabotaged in my effort to try to tell you about the virtual relationship aspect of this, that but then again, maybe I'm just being sabotaged, but just I'm the person targeting you is able to literally see your body parts, smell your body parts, and to see you up close, your face, whatever he wants. The computer rearranges electrons in his brain while he slowly murders you. But okay, so going on to why we have war. I think I've covered enough now about the other matters, and I really don't want to go on any longer. So why do we have war? Remember, in my business, I do have some world famous CEOs. Some of them are defense industry CEOs, but at this point I'm calling that, I don't believe in calling that the defense industry anymore. now that I know about this weapon, I hope you join with me in saying we should call them weapons dealers. And it's very evil. So, but anyway, because of my contacts, I was able to, it's been explained to me why we have war very quickly. Now, this brain scanning technology, the scientists that have it have explained to us that it's number one reason it's so important to know throughout the world. We need to spread this around the world. Brain scanning technology has, by scanning a lot of brains, the scientists have found that everyone's brain is completely different. We're all snowflakes, and some people are born with the ability to be intelligent, to learn and to memorize, have memory banks. Other people are born without any memory banks, so they can't really, and they're limited. And so, but other people are born, they found, are born with brains that are miswired from birth, where when they inflict harm on other people or damage to people's possessions, they're wired so that it goes right into an orgasm. It's why we have serial killers and people that are, out there on the street getting you. But by having this technology, someone that's selling it to the government has told us that they found that by scanning the brains of a lot of people, because it's not illegal yet, right? So they're all out there scanning. The tech workers that have access to this are just out scanning around. And what they found is that at the top of the one that's selling it to our government has informed us that at the top of our military, that you'll find at 3%, I guess it's 3% of all heterosexual males are born this way, where they're miswired, and females, no doubt, but they're born this way where when they inflict harm and they murder and they maim and they cut people to pieces, they actually have an orgasm. That is their orgasm. They're wired that way. And that's what is, and the same is true at the top of our military, that 3% have, that those types that are intelligent and they want to be able to do this in the fields of war, that's their particular fetish. They get themselves into these positions, and this is throughout history and all around the world, every country. 3% of the males are born this way. And the ones that have the personality that want to be involved with wars and exercise their turn on, their secret fetish, they get themselves into positions where they can make their way to the top of the military. And same thing for the top of our government and other governments around the world, that this is their secret turn on. And it could be other positions like senators. Some of these senators that are like so pro-war, just look in their eyes and see if you can see a strange little light. Would you imagine that they're looking out in the fields of war, knowing it's not necessary? You can start to notice some people look really sick now that you know about this. And so they wear this one tech industry CEO that has this and has been using it to beam a lot of people and actually sells it to our government, has informed us that by beaming these people, that the ones that are sick this way at the top of our military and the top of our government, they're wearing double waterproof jock straps in the situation rooms while they arrange for the mass destruction of our people and other people's and bombing of cities. Double waterproof jock straps. I don't usually talk about things like this. All my friends would tell you. She never does. I don't like to talk about negative things either, but we have to be real and address where we are with the world. And so we can share that around the world, right? That we don't want to be fooled anymore by people that are actually secretly sick. It's happened throughout the history of the world. These people that are so praised in our history classes as we grow up for creating empires, now we know they're sexually turned on. They're sadists. They're orgasmic when they can murder our people, and or when they can murder people in war, and So it's like a snuffing out of man, just like there's snuff films where it's a certain fetish, a certain type of fetish is to actually have to murder people in order to have your orgasm. Females, so it's true also for the heterosexual males that are born this way, and probably females. They didn't address the females, but so we can share that around the world and try to move civilization forward with this knowledge, and I think that's pretty valuable. Okay, also, why does war happen? Profits. We have these defense industry CEOs have told us there's no profit like that of selling weapons to the government, and that now that we've been in and out of all these offices and see how immature and really not very intelligent all these people are in all these offices, the senators and the Congress people, the Washington D.C. agencies, and we have a lot of friends now that work in government, really good positions, who tell us the same thing socially, privately. They all tell you it's really not very intelligent in there, and it's horrible, and a feeling of despising the public soon settles over you after you start working in government. These positions, it's very, very, very bad in there. They really are. Okay, so the profits, so the way it works is we have private business men and women probably who are in the business of creating and selling weapons to the government, to the United States government, instead of it being an in-house thing. So then, as time has gone by, the decades and the centuries, they've become cleverer and cleverer about scamming the system and paying these people campaign contributions. And I've seen it myself, where the voters have voted against something, but these CEOs that are bad and so selfish and really horrible, they actually go and give a lot of money that they call campaign contributions to the different senators and Congress people and political parties. And so these people get to spend that money. They can spend it on going out to dinner, they can take trips, and they can kind of fudge it and tell us it's for their, whatever, so it's for their, but they're actually free to spend it. That's what it's all about now. It's all about, which I think it's really a bribe, because nobody's doing their job in there unless you give them a campaign contribution. They didn't want to do anything about this crime wave until we started saying, well, what do we have to give you? $10,000 in campaign contributions? Well, and then suddenly they're available. Whereas before they're hanging up on you. They don't care that everyone's being murdered, that your business has been destroyed. But, oh, campaign got $10,000. But anyways, that's what's happening, is that I guess apparently they told us that in the early 1970s, Washington, D.C. law firms began to send out letters and contacting different major corporations, telling them that if these corporations, the CEOs, would start to hire the law firms, that they, like billions of dollars a year, some of them, and you can double check on that figure. That's what somebody told us, that the law firms know how to place the money so that the corporations can get whatever they want. $150,000, one tech industry CEO told us, will get you anything, any kind of a byline. And so, and the different senators and the Congress people, apparently the more money they raise, the higher their status in the parties. So we've had this disintegration of our system, and it's all about money going into the personal control of these people that are the Congress people and senators, who then sit on the committees that decide which companies decide how they are in a position of actually stopping the war, but they don't care because of the money involved. And the businessmen then get the contracts, and there's no profit greater than what you can earn when you're selling weapons to to the country, is what they've told us. And then these CEOs that have these that are selling weapons are so rich. I grew up in that world. I know these people. I've been to the functions, and I was just young and naive. It wasn't until I had to work on this that I was able to put two and two together and realize, oh my gosh, these are people that, and I know them personally. And the brain scanning technology has shown that people's brains are so different that some people are born without empathy. They have no empathy in their brain at all. So those of us that would say, how can he do such and such? I would never do that to anybody. It's because your brain is completely different. This person doesn't have any empathy in his brain. He was born without those anything. In fact, it could be a certain excitement that he's able to go out there and get a bunch of money, and that he's a certain joy in being able to trample people. His brain is miswired. And so, but they become very, 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 very rich. These men that are that have these companies, and the women too, they have incredible mansions. It's like Versailles, the palace in France. They're not just huge and beautiful. The way that the interior design is so beyond belief. And my husband, I was married for 17 years to a very prominent architect. He was voted the top architect in Southern California during our marriage, 5 years after our marriage, for an $18 million mansion he had designed in Beverly Hills. He designed 300 homes in the first 10 years of our marriage, primarily mansions for famous CEOs and for some celebrities, and even for royalty, as well as, nice homes and even additions for nice local normal people. So and in my investment business, there's a real estate aspect to my investment business where I've had really, really famous clients. This is in California. You can think of it as Beverly Hills, that type of place. And when I was involved with selling real estate, I was selling and buying, helping people buy and sell mansions, $60 million. I was helping one client buy a $150 million building in another state. I've been in and out of all these. This is what my life has been all about. And when I'm telling you the mansions of these men that are selling weapons to our country are beyond, it's just to the nth degree of just incredible. Like just one ashtray in one of the suites of this one particular man's mansion. It was a 25,000 square foot mansion, 38 groomed acres with white deer wandering around. And I had no idea at that point in my life that this was all a scam, and that it's how corrupt it is and how evil. And just how somebody could do that. I know these people, and socially they're so good at shaking your hand and being really nice. But by being able to see into their lives, and knowing about all this, you can start to realize this is just, it's like a modern evil. This is like, it's as bad as the Nazis, only it's in a business suit, in democracy. This is a weakness in our system, a flaw in our system that we have to fix. The amount of money and the riches that can be made. And then the people that are at the head of the military, they're free. They're free to go work for these defense corporations shortly after they leave the military for millions of dollars a year. And they're often working closely, and I won't get into that right now, but they can go from earning a government, at the top scale, but still it's not a lot of money, relatively speaking. They can leave that and go work for millions of dollars a year. I think it's within 2 years after they leave the military. And meanwhile, they're going out to dinner with these men. They have close friendships. They're, vacations, use my vacation house. Same thing for the senators. people that are they're on the take in our government, and so everybody's turning their head because there's so much money involved. And then they all feel like big shots because they're making so much money. And then we all admire them or so many people admire them because they're so rich. And they've done it on their own, supposedly. And you don't know that it's because they learned that this is how the scam is going. And they don't care that people are starving in the United States, that children don't have meals. They don't care that their own citizens are being murdered in wars that aren't necessary. They don't care that people of other countries are being murdered, that beautiful cities are being bombed. They don't care about anything except for themselves. And I do know these people personally. I've even had a number of them want to marry me. So anyway, okay, why else does it happen? The other thing we have to think about is, okay, then some of these companies, the shares are owned by investors, people buying the stock of some of these publicly held corporations. There's a lot of money involved with this. A lot of computer companies, a lot of these companies are selling parts of the weapons to our government. That's why it's all scammed. It's just completely scammed. It's just, we're a high school class running the country. High school class. There's no dad in there. Now, we've been in and out of every government office alerting them to this crime wave, and then to the fact, once we realized, oh my gosh, this proves this war isn't necessary. And every single senator and congressperson is just so immature and so, the word irresponsible doesn't even cover it, and they're just on the take. It's a scam. It's a new scam. It's to get into those offices, because then you have your lifelong paycheck, incredible life. Nobody knows that you're not at work, and then you're always on the take for what they call campaign contributions that then you can spend going out to dinner, going on vacations, this cushy life, and no one knows that you're not at work. So that's why I'm saying it's like we're a high school class. And some of our classmates that are have these jobs are actually lying to us, and they're cheating us, and they're actually, I believe that most people would say this is criminal behavior on their part. Okay, so we do have this people owning shares of these companies around the world. And different countries, people own shares, or people can buy shares of these companies, and then you're all invested financially in something that is as evil as the Nazi era. And so now I'm letting you all know about this. You didn't know before, now you know. And now it's up to us to fix the situation and to make reparations and to fix our system. And I think that most people would agree we need to have cameras in these offices of all these people that we have working for us. They certainly have forgotten that they work for us. They're very un-American in there right now. It's very abusive. I tell the story in the other videos. It's extremely abusive in there. They're acting as if they're French penal colony era governors. If you dare to call them to ask for rescue from your business being destroyed by a high-tech stalker, to ask for rescue for the public against this new crime wave, they will abuse you verbally. It's as if they have rabies. All the senator staffs, all of them, Jerry Brown's, Dianne Feinstein, the Congress people, the House of Representatives, behave. They're more polite, oddly enough. They're somewhat gentle as you talk to them, but it's as if they kind of snurf. They sort of like, you're off the phone. They do not care at all about the fact that your business has been destroyed by a high-tech stalker, that you're being slowly murdered by the government's own billion-dollar weapon, that the populace is being murdered, there's a huge crime wave going on in the United States. They don't care about the war, and it doesn't matter if you're off the phone. They have you off the phone, and they are like, so the result is abuse. They're not doing their job, and then but as they're hanging up the phone, if you should say, Well, what do I have to do? Is it going to take a $10,000 campaign contribution? Suddenly it's like, oh, and in literally no more than a minute, they have you off the phone. They're only in there for the money, everybody, and for not working, for not doing their job. I mean, for being people that have this technology have beamed the senators and have told us that they're on the beach and they're at home. They're rarely in their office, and they're all lying to us, saying that they're working so hard. Their staff is at the phones, but everybody is just really, really lazy in there. And you can start to see in their eyes when they're on in front of a television camera, telling you how much they care and what they're doing. You can start to see it in their complexion, in the set of their face, which I didn't know until we had to work on this. And remember, I was voted president of all the colleges in the nation of my highly technical male-dominated major when I was in college. It was Cornell, University of Michigan, UC Davis, University of California at Davis, University of Alaska, University of Hawaii, but on and on and on. And of Canada, 3 universities in Canada. I've been the national finance chairperson for all those people when I was 19. They voted me to a higher position after that, and then at age 21, I was voted in as their president. So, and I've served on the board of directors for the Chamber of Commerce. I told you that. I've served in politics, and this is what I'm telling you. Americans, this is our wake-up call, and people around the world, please help us to to put pressure on the American public to do something about this war, because our system right now, it seems like laziness and laziness is really causing all of our problems. Well, let me skip that. The media also has proven to be hit and miss. They're not really doing investigative journalism anymore. We informed CNN in early March, after they started reporting about the Malaysia jetliner missing. We called and informed them that our country has a weapon that proves this jetliner is not missing. And by the way, it's being used in a large crime wave against the populace. When we told them the jetliner isn't missing, and we mentioned that it was from President George W. Bush's own technology advisor that we knew about this weapon that proved that the jetliner is not missing, they said, oh, you know, they want to continue to report, to make up a story that it's missing because it's like easy reporting. And I used to be a TV reporter and an anchor person for a Fox TV station before my careers were destroyed by this stalker and a prior stalker. You know, I've spent my time in that industry, but it's easy money for them to do it this way, and it's sort of like, it's like fiction, and that's what I am. I'm a writer in the film industry, and I'd written my first international novel. That's what I would be doing is, if I don't want to take time on myself, but they're making up the story because it keeps eyeballs. It's like there's nothing that people love more than a mystery. That's a given in the fiction writing industry. The human brain is just so, it's almost irresistible when there's a mystery, and that's why we're trying to ask the world to help us communicate this to all Americans, that this weapon exists and that our country has had it since 1992. And we've alerted other, we kind of gave up on trying to go through the system in the United States. We've let other media know about this weapon, and that we have files 6 feet thick filled with the military and scientific proof. We have patents, many, many patents. We have DVDs with the documentaries by one of the heads of the military demonstrating electronic weapons. And we've alerted other media to this, and they're all really lazy right now. They really don't care, and it's horrifying to us how uncaring too many people are about. They're not doing investigative journalism, and so this is why we need to probably have cameras in all these offices, so that, and Citizens TV, so that the country we can see what's going on, and we can start to, and these people will be on their best behavior. They will actually do their jobs if we have cameras on them. The senators, the Congress people, all the different government offices, because it's our responsibility to run the country in a way that works for the people and for the world, and we cannot abdicate that responsibility. And then that would be a good start. But another reason that wars happen, there are a couple more reasons. The scientists have had us watch a movie, a documentary or a clip of President Eisenhower as he went out of office in 1960. He went on television the week he went out of office, President Eisenhower, for one reason only. He said, you can watch it on YouTube, and I think we have it on our website. He said, "My dear fellow citizens, I'm coming forward today, this week that I go out of office as your president, for one reason only, and it is to warn all of you and to alert you all to the fact that the industrial military complex is out of control, that even I as president cannot control it. Something has to be done, or this will ruin America, and of course ruin the world, right? We all know." So he was a military man. He wasn't a businessman. And if you have a business brain, and they told me I was the most intelligent female in the entire business department at my college. It was a college where President Ford's son was there when I was there. I can tell you about that in my other video. And then major corporations told my department head that I was the #1 student graduating that year in the entire United States in my heavy industry male-dominated major. And they all wanted to send me to Harvard for my MBA, Harvard University for my MBA, if I would join them. And I would be an international, I would have my own huge division, even starting out right after college. So people like myself, if you have a business brain, it's very easy to see how the industrial military complex has been free to do these things, and that President Eisenhower didn't have the brain of a business person, so he couldn't see the conflicts of interest that you have, whether you have the Defense Industry Advisory Council, different defense corporations that actually tell our military men what the range and possibilities and the limitations. They're always stressing the limitations. Oh, we can't do it. Okay, well, here's more money. Keep working on it. It's a conflict of interest that this person, this Defense Industry Council, is actually telling our military men what the limitations are of these different weapons. And there's a conflict of interest in there because this military man is free to go work for this defense corporation for millions of dollars a year in just, I think it's 2 years after he leaves his position. And meanwhile, he can be, dinners, incredible dinners. These are rich people. There's no richer. Incredible dinners and trips and, personal visits and vacations and family ties. Right. It's human nature, but that's criminal. But anyway, where was I with this? So President Eisenhower, and also, so that's the conflict of interest, and also that we have, there's more to it about what the defense, some of the defense companies are doing to create wars, but some of them actually they'll have people in foreign countries that are actually fomenting disputes that are over there. They'll pay the people that are to dress up like as if they're to dress up in the garb, in the outfits of the enemy, and then go actually assault go harm their own people, but they're dressed up as if they are the enemy, and then it's made to happen because these are sick people. It's just a new fetish. And for those of you that wonder about that, I'm a member of the film industry. That's one of my careers, and it's well known. If you're in the positions of knowing the people that are, it's what they will do. Like when you have, they'll actually in the film industry, they'll actually pay people to go sit in front of certain productions, certain like famous writers, as they're giving speeches that are going to be televised around the world. They'll actually plant people that are paid to go sit in front, to jump up and down with great excitement, so that on camera around the world everybody thinks, oh, this is like a really hot thing happening, when in fact that was a paid person. Yes, there might be, but anyway, so it's actually made to happen. And because we don't have cameras ourselves in these all these government offices and around the world on all these people, we don't know that we're all being lied to, and that they've scammed it, and they're very good now at using the cameras and the news to be able to make us think that there's actually a conflict going on, when it's very often actually someone on the payroll of a defense corporation, or of the tie-in to some of the corrupt aspects inside our government, in the CIA, places like that. So it's all about technology, us using technology to clean up everybody's act. When Rodney King in Los Angeles was severely beaten by the police officer, who could have really believed that? If you're a really good person, you cannot conceive that a police officer would do that to somebody. But because of cell phones and cameras, cell phones that have cameras, it was able to be communicated around the world. And bless him, for saying, can't we all get along? That's how I think we all feel about all of our fellow citizens around the world, that we all like each other. We travel and we meet each other, and we no longer want to be victims of people that have a sick fetish about blowing up cities and bombing people and harming people in the fields of war. So we can all, but I think having cameras in the offices of all of these people, president and the CIA and everywhere, because it's our responsibility. And believe me, these people, when you go in and out of all these offices, all of you people out there that are intelligent, you just cannot imagine how immature, incredibly immature these people are. In Washington, D.C. agencies, we've been in and out of just about every possible government office trying to do something about the crime wave involved with this weapon being used to attack our own law-abiding citizens, and then about the war. But you just cannot imagine how immature and creepy these people are. It's just beyond belief. And I hope a lot of good people out there will make sure that you're here to support me and be providing friendship. Donations would help save my life. I've literally nearly starved to death along the way. My freedom to work has been utterly destroyed by this particular stalker, and now my career is to be slowly murdered by this billion-dollar weapon of the government. But back to why wars happen, there's just maybe one more thing to share with you. Okay. Half of the people in the military in the United States need that job. That's the only job that they can get, and it's a way out of the terrible, terrible lives that they've grown up. There's no job opportunity for them, and they will starve to death if they're not in the military. There'll be just nothing. It's an economic need, and it's probably true around the world. And the same thing with our defense industry families, defense industry. And I'm calling them weapons dealers now, having been in and out of all these offices, or having had to work on this. These families, just think about it. If we were to, as we will need to do, shut down this industry, where are they going to go? Our system is not set up to provide really good options for people, as industries are found to be bad for other humans or for the environment. We haven't addressed this need to have a very, very, very good option for people so that they don't have to sell out to something that is evil and that is murderous. And so we'll need to arrange for all these people to have jobs that are of equal, even greater pay and promise in rebuilding our country, for example. But I will just share with you, with my business background and having been in and out of all these offices, and I am an investment expert. I would be earning $500,000 per month if I were not being prevented from doing my work by this particular stalker. A lot of really smart people out in our country, though, in every aspect of life. There's so many different really smart people in our country, good common sense. And I'll just share with you, there's no economic problem in our country. There's no shortage of food. There's no shortage of anything. It's just we don't have a system that has allowed us to see it. And we actually are going to be producing some videos in the future to explain this. There's no problem. It's all complete, utter lack of management, utter lack of intelligence. And it's time to use this information that we're sharing with you about this weapon and about people's intelligence to move everybody into a kinder, gentler era where there's no economic need to sell out to a bad industry. It could be an industry that pollutes. It could be the other industries right now that are causing so much harm to health and the environment. What are the options of the people that are in there? We haven't ever addressed that. So that's what we have to do. And everybody in the military and these corporations, please work with us in making sure that you are transitioned into some really incredible jobs. Because that is something that's very important. Okay, so that's it, everybody. But the most important reason why wars happen is that there are 3% of the heterosexual males are born where they actually have an orgasm when they harm and they bomb and they murder, and some of them are wired so that they need to do it at the head of a military, say, or somewhere up the chain. Even down here, some of them are in there around the world in military because they can legally murder people, and secretly they're orgasmic and they can do it. Same thing for the top of our government. This is why throughout the history of the world, the scientists have explained to us, there have repeatedly been wars. And so in our country, when information comes out that the way it works is that the amount of money involved also is so huge that certain people are paid off to not, along the way up the military ranks, they receive pay if they will look the other way when something important is going to happen. Same thing something that could prevent a war. Same thing with our government, that people the amount of money involved is so huge that they just all look the other way. And the CEOs are all on the take. It's all about them, and it's like money, money, money for me, me, me. It's so selfish, but we can fix it. So that's it, everybody. And if you want to know more about the weapon, you can look at the robotics. You can look at the technology video that we produced, explaining the technology of the weapon. I tried to do it quite quickly. Please send us your questions. We can answer them in future videos and on the website. The website is helpsavebeverlyhillsprincess.com. And our contact page is on there. And I would really appreciate if you can, all around the world, call California Governor Jerry Brown, California Senator Dianne Feinstein, and Senator Barbara Boxer in California, and Congresswoman Lois Capps, and just give them, you know what, just tell them that you're going to vote them, that you're going to call all your friends and relatives in California, and if you're a Californian, please call these people and tell them you're going to vote them and their party out of office if they don't instantly make sure that I am rescued. Because since 2004 is when I first began begging for rescue from a high-tech male from the defense industry, who, when he wanted to be involved with me, continue to be involved with me, and when I didn't want to be involved with him, he was a satellite physicist for Los Alamos Labs, our nation's premier defense industry think tank. My story is told in another video, but he's the first one to destroy my business with his war-related expertise. And the police and FBI did nothing, and all my assistants lost their jobs. And I've been begging for rescue against high-tech males from the weapons side of the high-tech industry ever since October 2004, starting in 2007 from these people, when I began to be murdered by this next stalker in 2007. I have not stopped begging for rescue from Lois Capps, Barbara Boxer, Dianne Feinstein, who pays these people, Governor Jerry Brown, and Jerry Brown and Dianne Feinstein are extremely abusive staff, yelling and screaming that it's not the governor's job to have to do something about the fact that a California professional mother of growing children is being slowly murdered by the government's new high-tech weapon. Fred Kavli identified that that's what she's being murdered by. Her businesses have been destroyed. She's been robbed of everything. Her assistants all lost their jobs. Some of them had to move out of state. They had to drop out of college. They had to drop out of law school. Dianne Feinstein, same thing. A terribly abusive staff. 95% of the staff of these people is so abusive. And the behavior of these people is abusive. So please, everybody in California and around the world, just stay on these people until they're forced to rescue me. I am going to die of starvation. If I can be, I beg them to update, not be able to take taxes from me. I had to borrow money to pay taxes. Jerry Brown, as I'm being murdered, is taking taxes from me that I could be using to buy food instead of starving to death. It's a miracle I survived. My story is in another video. It's truly a miracle. Maybe my experience is that there is something really magnificent and amazing, pure love, but such awe. I can see why people, and you can't speak, I can see why people have called it God. You just kind of, but I feel like maybe it's a miracle that I finally, that I've survived, to be able to share with you about this weapon and about and the war, and also that there's something incredible where we're going next. But Jerry Brown is actually forcing me to borrow money to pay taxes for his salary, and Dianne Feinstein, their salary. They've done nothing to rescue me from this dire situation where one of the top achievers of my generation in not only California but in the country, and I've been severely impoverished. There are no government programs to rescue you. There's no Social Security. There's nothing. There's no food. There's no housing. There's nothing. But they have programs for people that are being murdered by traditional types of weapons. And they've all ignored my letters and my personal visits, dropping off the letters to their offices, calling, begging them to do something to update these programs to include rescuing you if your business is destroyed by a high-tech stalker, especially one who's murdering you, slowly torturing you to death with the government's own billion-dollar weapon. So please call them and just stay on them and insist that they now begin to rescue me financially. If they can find a way to, all my investment teachers, would tell you, and all the people that knew me professionally before I began to be attacked and kidnapped by this particular person with this weapon, would tell you that they all would tell you that I was on my way to being a billionaire myself, which I was doing for women, to be able to tell women how to do it. You know, I was giving most of it away, and my whole role in life is to my project in the media was to create positive role models for women and children in the media and for families. And I did find, as the years went by, as I continued to pay for continued to pay for advanced training in my businesses, that I could achieve greater and greater amounts of earnings, which I love to do because of how it allowed me to start to fund inner city schools and orphanages, and but my life would always still be beautiful. So my homes have been stolen from me. I've been robbed of my homes and all my savings, my IRAs, my perfect credit has been destroyed by this particular stalker and the one before, 1985 to the 1999 one. It's a virtual relationship when they use it on women. They're targeting women and children, and it allows them to see your body, smell it, taste it, touch it, your body parts. And I used to be a runway model, and they can tell by looking into my memory banks that I'm very incredible life. My social life has been just miraculous, just incredible. You know, I'm what they call high society in a way, but I'm very grassroots. I'm a novelist. I love people of every walk of life. But my first boyfriend, when I moved away from home at 17, was Paul Newman's son, the actor. They can see that in my memory banks, and I'm not a name dropper. They can see that I've had world famous CEOs propose marriage to me or pursue me, that household name people. Before I was destroyed by the stalker, my face is being ripped to pieces by him, and I've been in intensive care for over a year now. The stalkers can see by looking at my memory banks that there have been a lot of world famous people who have pursued me romantically. That I've had. I don't seek it out, everybody. I'm really into just my careers and helping my community and the world. And as the years went by, I realized I could earn enormous amounts of money because of my investment expertise. It just has happened that's how my life has evolved. So please clobber Jerry Brown and Feinstein and Barbara Boxer and Lois Capps and monitor my rescue. They're making these guys billionaires by paying them for this weapon. They're forcing me to borrow money to pay taxes for the money I earned before my business was destroyed. How can Jerry Brown or the IRS take taxes from you to pay their salaries and to pay the FBI's salary and the police salary, and then they all leave you to drop in the gutter when someone who's getting rich off of your tax dollars for the weapon slowly murders you and destroys your businesses? And they all say it's not their job to do something about it, but they keep getting their paycheck from the tax dollars I have to go borrow while I'm being slowly murdered by the weapon. And they can still have their really cushy life and go on with it. So I would ask you all to make sure that they cannot take taxes from me and that they have to return all taxes taken from me since I began to be severely destroyed by high-tech males on government contracts for this weapon, which in 1985 was the first one who attacked me with this weapon. The high-tech industry has it. A very major corporation began to sell it to our government in 1992. But a lot of high-tech companies have it because it's the new pervert, the new voyeur. They can look into our homes. I found out through my research there's no government regulation. There's only lip service paid to how high-tech companies use satellite time, their satellite time. There's no one in government paying attention to how these high-tech companies use or misuse their satellite time. There's no government regulation of the high-tech industry, nor has there ever been. The government does regulate carefully what's happening with incoming to our country's lands, any satellite activity, any beaming of anything coming in from satellites into our country, but they do not monitor how high-tech companies use or misuse our satellite time. And so this is how this weapon was invented, is that sickos in technology with these supercomputers that they have, and that a lot of the space era, the space program people came up with this invention where they can actually be beaming into our houses, and then they can have the computer translate back to their brain massive amounts of information about our bodies, so they can actually see our body parts through our clothing. They can smell our body parts. They can touch it, taste it, and then they can actually hurt us, or they can actually make our bodies move in a way that turns them on, and they can literally rape you. There are girls out there that are being, and celebrities, and people are complaining about their private parts being harmed or altered, or things being done, children. But that's the subject of another video. I used to be a runway model, and these stalkers can see that they can see into my memory banks, and they've wanted to, and they've involved themselves with me in this new way. And as Ray Kurzweil explained on the stage at Stanford University, it is completely indistinguishable from a real relationship if someone targets you with this. It's exactly as if he's with you in your house, because he can smell your house, see your house, touch it. It's all a virtual experience for him. It's so perfected, this weapon. But anyway, please do clobber Jerry Brown, Dianne Feinstein, and Barbara Boxer, and Lois Katz into returning all the taxes taken from me, not being able to take any taxes from me as long as I'm being slowly murdered by this particular stalker, which Fred Kavli told me my chances of ever getting free are not good in my life. There is a Pandora's box aspect to this invention. Please demand that they instantly start sending me incredible Social Security. I'm not going to, it's not fair that I would be on a creepy little government program, some creepy little government housing. My homes are beautiful. I've never not had a beautiful home. I mean, I've owned my own home since I was 24. And I found through my research that two world famous scientists warned government in 1997 to 2001 that electronics industry workers now pose the most severe threat to the lives, safety, and freedom of the rest of the populace imaginable. There's no greater threat to our lives, our safety, and our freedom than the high-tech workers, because this is what the famous scientists said, and I'll tell you their names in just a moment, because they're so dangerous to us now because of the incredibly advanced new types of high-tech electronic weapons, extremely dangerous new types of electronic weapons that they're inventing and producing, that there's no greater threat to our lives. And that was Bill Joy, co-founder of Sun Microsystems, a huge cutting-edge high-tech corporation, and Sir Martin Rees, who was Great Britain's Astronomer Royal. These two famous scientists from 1997 to 2001, huge public warning to the government and to the people that high-tech workers are now the most serious threat to our lives, our safety, and our freedom because of the incredibly dangerous new electronic weapons that they have invented, are inventing, and are producing. And that governments must begin to regulate and monitor the high-tech industry in order to bring about protection for the populace. And that this particular weapon is so dangerous, Bill Joy explained, robotics, that it should never have been allowed to have been invented in the first place. So Clinton was in office then, he did nothing. Bush undoubtedly used this. Now that you know that there are sex perverts out there, and you can spout all that you want to about the Bible, but if you look on Investigation Discovery Channel, people that are naive like I was, if you look on the Investigation Discovery Channel on television, they have true crime. They have true crime. It's a true crime program, and it's very good quality. They have the FBI's psychologists, forensic people. They have the judges. Very often, the real victims. And you learn a lot by watching that program. It makes you much less naive about things. You watch that program and you'll see that there have been serial killers that have been pastors of churches. There was a pastor in one of the central states in the United States who was caught. He was a pastor of a church. He's a Christian, and people are miswired from birth, is the point. He was caught. His habit was to go down to Mexico and buy young girls one at a time, and he would be lecturing them about God and the Bible and teaching them about God and the Bible as he raped them and he murdered them. That was his sexual turn-on. There was another crime being committed by two brothers who were ministers, very popular, very handsome, and they were serial killers. They were luring their parishioners into the back room where they would be shouting out, praising God and shouting out prayers and things while they were stabbing the parishioners to death, one at a time. So, just because people so many people that have been involved with this war they come across as being very Christian or whatever, and one must just wonder, are they crazy? Because that's what we found too by going in and out of all these offices, is that a lot of these people are really kind of crazy. And I think as a country we need to address that there is insanity. And when you've had enough social experience, some of these CEOs they're insane that I've known personally. You don't necessarily know it until you're in their personal life. But all of us, we can share this information and begin to address the fact that we have mad scientists inventing really dangerous things, and there's no government regulation of that industry. We have people on government payroll that are telling us they're doing their job and telling us that they care, but they're lying to us. And a lot of them appear to be somewhat insane. When you're in and out of their offices, you start to realize something's wrong with these people. It's as if they have rabies. And at the top of governments and the top of the military, insanity. It's called high-functioning insane, where you're not out committing crimes on the street, so you're not locked up. But they're in their jobs and they are functioning somewhat, but you don't know what they're doing at work every day, and they're actually off. They're crazy, dangerous. So please do. I feel like I went off on a tangent, but if you will please make sure that I'm rescued and stay on my rescue. And I need incredible Social Security. If they can make these people billionaires, they can certainly return me to my incredible life. I was always a world traveler, and I've always owned my own homes. I owned a multi-million-dollar portfolio of properties in California, which was robbed of me by the 1985 to 1999 stalker. I can tell that story later in a video. I've been kidnapped away from my growing children. These men are involving me against my wishes in their snuff films. They're involving themselves with me in this new, horrible, high-tech way. The computer can literally be beaming you, and that you can have the artificial personality can be locked onto you of the computer, and it can be actually communicating with you with your thoughts, and it could be translating back to him. So it's an instantaneous relationship. If the particular person stalking you wants to, it's a new voyeur. They can actually punish you for your thoughts. They can block you from having your own thoughts. Make it so that it's now his everything that he's thinking is being beamed into your head instead of your own, and it's with the force of a 50-ton Mack truck. So if you're targeted by this, but this particular stalker and the one of 1985 to 1999 are turned on by being able to destroy females. It's been a horrible thing. My life was crime-free until this era of high-tech weapons arrived, and these people on government payroll have been too lazy and immature and irresponsible in horribly, criminally neglecting their responsibilities. So criminal neglect on their part is what most people are saying when they hear how long it's been that the FBI, the police, and Lois Capps, Barbara Boxer, Dianne Feinstein, Jerry Brown, and others. You can see the list in the story on our website. It's criminal neglect of their responsibilities to be ignoring all of us with this crime wave and this war. So please do make sure I'm rescued, and if you can donate anything, I'm usually the one donating to everybody and everything, but because of this situation, people not doing their job in government, I'm in a situation where I'm not going to make it more than the end of this year, and whatever little money I won't tell my story here, but it took 115 hours per week of work without a single day off, no nights off, no birthdays, no Christmases, no holidays, no vacations, nothing since 2007 to research this weapon, to be able to learn enough about it, to even be able to explain it to all of you, let alone, and it was nearly impossible to be able to find out about this weapon, even for someone like myself, an honors student. I've been an honors student all of my life, and I love to write and research and write, but it was almost impossible. And on top of it, being slowly murdered by the weapon and impoverished to the point that I was literally having to live in an industrial incinerator, I was looking for a crawl space. I would have lived in a crawl space to get away from the industrial incinerator. Poisoned me. My body was in perfect health in 2000, before 2010, 2011. Jerry Brown didn't do anything, Dianne Feinstein, and I was starting to starve to death, and I was forced to live in a free place that was an industrial incinerator, like the World Trade Center, and there were rattlesnakes and scorpions. This is where I am a princess, just like women out there. I'm a princess in this regard. I have my homes are beautiful, clean, white, beautiful carpeting, beautiful wood floors, beautiful English gardens, beautiful lace high thread count bed sheets. I'm also an interior designer. People go crazy over my interior designs. So this is such a nightmare that Jerry Brown and Dianne Feinstein forced me into, that I had to live in an industrial incinerator for a year and a half, writing desperately to them and pleading with them to do something to rescue me and everybody else, because I informed them this is a huge crime wave, and my body went from being in perfect health, and I have medical records to prove that, to being a hair away from dying because of all the poisons. And I realized I was dying from the poisoning, and that's what took me so long to come forward, is that I was poisoned due to these people not doing their jobs, not caring about me being murdered. And I would have done anything to get away from that industrial incinerator. And I was starving to death on top of it. I didn't have any money for food. And they didn't care. Look at my resume. I mean, the things I've done, I'm not going to take up time here, and I would have lived in a crawl space to get away from the poisons. That's how desperate it was. And so now I have, I've had to, someone who owed me money from the late 1990s, to my amazement, suddenly in 2012 sent me what they owed me. And that's in my story. And that's the only reason I'm still here, is that a certain amount of money was sent to me overnight, right when I was literally a hair away from dying. It's like when you spray an ant with Raid, it crinkles up and it can't walk, and it's like, can't operate. That's what happens to your body. That's what happened to my body. I've been in intensive care now for over a year to be able to even get out of being dead and close to dying. And the money that I did receive has had to go towards medical treatment. I didn't have any way to pay for insurance because I was being murdered and my business is destroyed and all my money robbed from me by high-tech stalkers. And now I need to continue medical treatment for another couple years to finish getting the chemicals out of my body. So my body's filled with lead, beyond extreme, mercury, 15 different heavy metals, or up into the beyond extreme or up into the extreme levels. Went from being nothing to beyond extreme, lead, mercury, 2 radioactive materials, and then 50 different complex high-tech chemicals. You do not want to live in the World Trade Center. And this is what they forced me to do. They did not care. And we have all the letters, all the emails, dates, times, places, all the people we talked to. And so they should also have to pay for my medical expenses. It was their fault they didn't rescue me in 2004 when I first began pleading for rescue from the police and the FBI from high-tech male destroying my business when he wanted to be involved with me, and I did not like him for that purpose. He had a mean streak, and they did nothing. And so there's a lot to it, but if you just make sure they have to repay my medical expenses and that they have to start paying for my medical expenses until I get back. But I have severe heart damage now from the poisoning, and I've been working on all this since 2004. I began frantically looking for rescue. So if they can, and I would be well on my way to being a billionaire. You know, I have people that can vouch for you, my former manager and different people that will vouch for you that that's my earnings when I'm not being attacked by high-tech workers, males, who are not involving themselves in this new snuff film thing they're doing to my life. And so if they can make these stalkers really, really rich by giving them tax dollars for this weapon, they can find a way to return me to my really beautiful life. I was an international traveler since I was 16, paying for it myself, my own minimum wage earnings. I'm such a hard worker. I'm so upset my career is over. I would never stop working at my careers, my duo career. But I don't need to be a billionaire. I'm not asking, I don't need that. But they should be forced to return my properties, the value of my properties. My savings were high into the six figures. My credit was perfect. They should be forced to perfect it. This guy sabotaged it on purpose and destroyed it. They should be forced to instantly send me Social Security of a very, very good amount right away, because I don't have any way to earn any money under these attacks of the government's new billion-dollar weapon called robotics. And I'm going to need medical treatment. The stalker is going to communicate, oh, your legs are so beautiful, I'm going to break them and destroy them. And what he's doing to my face, it's like a machine. It's just constantly cutting my face. I'm going to need medical treatment. So I think I've said enough, and there's about 200 people who vouch for you that no one around me is ever targeted, that I'm the only one. So please, around the world, stay on these people and make sure I'm rescued, because I will die. And we actually have a lot of good news for the country and for the world. Something else that came out of all this research, that we know now how to make the world really, really beautiful for everybody, make everybody's lives just a little bit of work in their own homes and beautiful vacations, move us into a really good place now, the whole world. And I'd like to be able to work on that. I'm being sabotaged all the time, but I can do a little bit of work, but with the help of helpers is always better. I mean, to be around me, people that help me. But there are about 200 people that vouch for you that no one around me is ever targeted, in case you want to help. There are people I've known since 1999 who've lived with me, really darling girlfriends. People I've lived with, people who've lived with me, people who went with me to the police and the FBI, people who helped me with the research, a former fiance. Everybody will tell you, nobody is ever targeted around me. Only I am targeted. And that there's no harm to anybody, that in fact their lives are made better by the fact that I'm a stalking victim. The computer is programmed to provide me with information at times that's top in the world to solve the problems of the people in my life, believe it or not, and even my own life. I've been informed about a lot of things that's very top in the world. I can share later. And also they'll tell you that the computer tends to back off whenever people come to my rescue. It never stops harming me and sabotaging me, but it's worse when I'm by myself. When I have other people around me, or when people come to my rescue, it's programmed to leave me alone. It's done terrible things to me. It nearly threw me off a 400-foot high bridge. That's another story, though. That's the other video. But everyone will tell you that there's no danger to anybody, that there are people who have been checking on me and keeping an eye and helping me for quite a few years now, and they're still happy and, you know, inviting me to go on trips with them, but I can't because I'm working on this and not having any money anyway. But some of them were willing to take me along. But I just so you know, in case you can help or if you can donate, it has been a lot of work. I've had to do the work of the FBI, the police, all these senators and Congress people into solving, finding all the information about the weapon to be able to inform the country and the world about it, and now in letting everybody know about this, about the fact that it proves that our country, that there are evil people in our country who are committing heinous crimes against our own people and against these other countries, and that we need to fix our country. So anyway, if you can, please make sure that I'm rescued, and I'll try to tweet. You can subscribe to my tweets if you can. It's helpsavebeverlyhillsprincess.com, and please, contact information is in our website, and I'll try to blog as much as I can. But you know, the weapon can prevent me from being able to do what I plan to do. So at this point, I just hope that enough people from around the world will help to really, really, really make sure that the American public hears about this, and just the American public, please, and everybody remember, it's throughout history there have been people at the top of governments, the, you know, quote unquote leaders, who have attacked their own people and murdered their own people. You know, we're not the first country. It's been throughout history. It's just because we haven't had technology up until not too long ago to be able to be watching these people, what they're doing, and to protect ourselves against crazies and sickos and protect the world. And also just remember, every country in the world, every generation has had its challenge. It's had challenges. And this is our challenge. We can do it. And also that every country in the world has had to, at some time or the other, has had to do something to remodel their government a little bit. And our Constitution does provide for that. It's principle number 2 of the Constitution is that if the government is not meeting the needs of its people, etc., that it should be dissolved. Our founding fathers addressed that. And you know, you don't have to say the whole thing has to be dissolved, that different aspects of how it's set up can be dissolved and rearranged. So by putting cameras on these people and having Citizens TV, we can begin to discuss what actually is happening in our country every day, so that we can actually start to fix everything. If we have TVs on the TV cameras in these different offices that are of critical importance, as a citizen goes in and out, if there's any mistreatment or their request is not met, whether it's your community or for a nationwide crime wave or for a war, as was our case, we can instantly, if there should be like a TV camera in the foyer of, say, outside a congressperson's office, or senators, or the governor or the mayor, etc., and then you go there and you just report as a citizen, this is what happened. I went in requesting this for this reason, and this is what happened. They were abusive, or they didn't do anything, and they're leaving our community to be poisoned or whatever. And that, in the clip from what was going on inside the office of the person, quote unquote senator, or their staff, could be instantly attached to what you just reported, and it can go right into Citizens TV. And then throughout the day, all of the people in the country that are motivated and interested in making sure that our country is working well and that it's actually meeting our needs and the needs of the people around the world, that we're not harming people in the world, we can be actually seeing what's going on in our country. And then we can actually be working on it and talking about it during the day around the water coolers. Because right now, nobody knows what's going on. You know, the media isn't in these offices. They don't know what's going on. No one's in there to know what's really going on inside these offices. It's just an illusion. So we need to be able to fix our country. We're going to have cameras in there so that we really know what's going on, so we can start to apply common sense and a kind heart and have practical solutions to the challenges that our country faces now and in the world. It's, you know, we're moving into a new era, and this is a scary weapon. I think if everybody will please stay calm about the weapon and just everybody focus on moving the world into a more beautiful place for everybody, including our United States and other countries, given that we now know that some people are born with brains where no matter how hard they work, they're never going to be able to earn a lot of money. They have brains that are miswired where they mess up, they make wrong decisions. It's not that they're bad people, they're born with different brains. And I think given that we know that now, we can maybe move the world into a kinder, gentler place, and where we start to think about giving people really great options for not having to sell out to bad industries. All of us start to think, how can we do this? Because there's no shortage there's no economic problem. It's just a matter of ignorance on all of our parts. Just like before the wheel was invented, they were ignorant. That's where we are now. So please stay calm, and I think if we all focus on moving the world towards in a more beautiful direction, that will work, and that will make it through this era. Because we've been watching now to see, I told you there's a little Pandora's box aspect to this weapon. You know, the high-tech industry is not regulated by the government. Nobody knows what they're inventing. Nobody knows what they're doing with what they're inventing, even though famous scientists warned that this weapon is the most dangerous weapon in the history of mankind, and the government's paying $1 billion a year, even though citizens are complaining, and even though world-famous scientists warned about the weapon. We've been watching this situation. We're aware of a number of high-tech companies that have it. Some of them are selling it to the government for $1 billion a year. But probably the personality of the people out there that have it probably is such that if we all just move forward in a direction where we want to make the world more beautiful and kinder and gentler while not causing harm to ourselves, it can be done in a way where there is a way to do it. I think we can make it through this era. And that's it for now. So, but please do make sure I'm rescued, everybody, and stay on top of these people until I am rescued. And please make sure I'm rescued. Thank you so much, and send us your questions. What other things you'd like to have information about? Thank you.